We live surrounded by things. A typical German owns 10,000 objects. In Los Angeles, a middle-class garage often no longer houses a car but several hundred boxes of stuff. The United Kingdom in 2013 was 1 to 6 billion items of clothing, roughly 100 per adult. A quarter of these never leave the closet. Of course, people always had things, and used them not only to survive but for ritual, display, and fun. But the possessions in a pre-modern village a native tribe next to or pale in comparison placed the growing mountain of things when. This change in accumulation involved a historic shift in humans' relationship with things. In contrast to the pre-modern village, where most goods were passed on and arrived as gifts, things in modern society are mainly bought in the marketplace. And they pass through our lives more quickly. In the last few hundred years, the three of things in short, consumption has become a defining feature of our lives. It would be a mistake to think people at any time have had a single identity, but there have been periods when certain roles have been dominant, defining a society and its culture. In Europe, the High Middle Ages saw the rise of a society of knights. The Reformation pitched one faith against another. And in the 19th century, a commercial society gave way to an industrial class society of capitalists and wage workers. Work remains important today, but it defines us in the prime days of the factory and the trade union. Instead of warriors or workers, we are more than ever before consumers. In the rich world and in the developing world increasingly, two identities, politics, the economy, and the environment are crucially shaped by what and how we consume. Taste, appearance, and lifestyle define who we are for what to be and how others see us. Politicians treat public services like a five of goods, hoping it will provide citizens with greater choice. Many citizens, in turn, seek to advance social and political causes by using the power of their money in boycotts and boycotts. Advanced economies live or die by their ability to stimulate and maintain high levels of spending, with the help of advertising, branding, and consumer credit. Our lifestyles are fired by fossil fuels. In the 20th century, carbon emissions per person became 4 times more than in the previous century. Today, transportation and bigger, more comfortable homes filled with more appliances account for just under half of global CO2 emissions. Eating more meat has seriously disturbed the nitrogen cycle. Consumers are even more deeply involved if the emissions released in the process of making and delivering their things are taken into account. And, at the end of their lives, many broken TVs and computers from Europe end up in countries like Ghana and Nigeria, causing illness and pollution as they are picked apart for precious materials. How much and what to consume is one of the most urgent but also difficult questions of our day. Like other key concepts in history, consumption has not had a fixed meaning over time. The term originally derived from the Latin word consumer, which first appeared in French in the 12th century and from there found its way into English and other European languages. At that time, it meant the using up and physical aid of matter. Food, candles, and firewood were consumed. So was the body when attacked by an illness. To confuse matters, there was the similar-sounding consumare, which meant to complete something, as in Christ's last words. It is finished. Consummatum est. In actual usage, waste and finish were often rolled into one. Between the 17th and 20th centuries, the term underwent a miraculous change. Consumption progressively ceased to mean waste or destruction, and instead became something positive and creative. From the late 17th century, economic commentators began to argue that the purchase of goods and services not only satisfied individual wants, but in the process, enriched a nation by enlarging the market for producers and investors. Personal vanities, like expensive clothes, could yield public benefits, at least in material terms. Such linkages unsettled earlier moral certainties. A major achievement was Adam Smith's The Wealth of Nations in 1776, in which he argued that consumption is the sole end and purpose of all production. His own argument, Smith and his immediate successors were still some way from making consumption the center of economics, let alone from imagining that there could be sustained growth. This had to wait until the 1860s to 1870s, when W. S. Jevons and others argued that it was consuming, not labor, that created value. The consumer society may have started in economic thought, but it was completed by politics. In the years around 1900, the consumer arrived on the political stage as the twin of the citizen, using the power of money to promote social reform, first in the United States and Britain, but soon in France and elsewhere in Europe. It was only after this, in the interwar years when mass-produced, standardized goods took off, that companies and advertisers made the customer the king of the marketplace. In the next few decades, users of health, education, and sports services started to be addressed as consumers until, by the 1960s, observers cited a whole new type of society, a consumer society. By the late 20th century, it was no longer just goods and services but emotions and experiences that were being consumed. Nevertheless, the older association with using up was never completely lost. Wilhelm Roscher, the founding father of historical economics in 19th-century Germany, once remarked that a coat was not consumed until its fibers were coming apart. Significantly, the Japanese term for consumption, created in the 1880s, remains shohi, which combines to spend, hi or he, to extinguish show or show. In an age when we are once again becoming aware of the limited resources of the planet, the concept of consumption has a lot to say for itself.